Clutter bothers just about everyone, whether it's made by you or by others. There's something unsettling about seeing personal items strewn around the home, covering every table and countertop, stuck in the nooks and crannies of a room, the basement, office, or garage. That's why many people make time to spring clean and get rid of the stuff they no longer want to look at or trip over. Decluttering isn't just a way to make more room in a living space, though. It's also a way to ease the mind and bring clarity back to your thoughts. That's the feeling of Dr. A.J. Marsden, a psychologist and assistant professor at Beacon College in Leesburg, Florida.
If your home is cluttered, your house is cluttered, your rooms are cluttered, that negatively affects your mind. So I like to say that, if your physical space is cluttered, then your mental space is also going to be cluttered. They negatively affect each other. Essentially, clutter takes over our mind as well and starts to overwhelm us, and we start to stress about it, which can ultimately have very negative effects on our mental well-being and our physical well-being.
How do we end up with so much stuff to begin with? It seems like it takes on a life of its own, slowly seeping into our lives and our habitats almost imperceptibly. Marsden says that it can sneak up on us because we don't realize that we take a lot of things in, but very little finds its way out again.
Well, first, people start to basically get stuff. So you get your friend a little something that you think is fun for their birthday, and then they reciprocate, and then you just slowly start accumulating this stuff. And then before you know it, several years have gone by. You go to put one more thing in that box in the basement, and you realize, I have 10 boxes down here full of junk that I've gathered over the years. And then you start to get overwhelmed. Man, I really need to clean out the basement, but I don't want to clean out the basement, so you keep putting it off and putting it off, and you end up just accumulating more and more stuff.
Not only are the sentimental things hard to throw out or give away, so are the things we think we might need in the future. Like those jeans from 10 years ago that you vow you'll wear again as soon as you lose the weight.
That one I hear a lot. Oh, I kept those jeans because, I'm trying to lose 20 pounds, and once I lose that 20 pounds, I'm going to be able to fit into those jeans. Really what you're doing is psychologically torturing yourself. Every time you see those jeans, you think, I need to lose weight, and then you feel guilty because you're off your diet or because you didn't exercise that morning or because last night you had ice cream. That's all you're doing by keeping those jeans is torturing yourself. So it really is time to just let go.
That is keeping things for your fantasy self. And I've been guilty of that as well.
That's Francine J., a.k.a. Miss Minimalist, and author of the book The Joy of Less, a minimalist guide to declutter, organize, and simplify.
I say keep the things that are appropriate for your life right now, and especially when it comes to wardrobe. Stuff that fits, stuff that flatters you, and stuff that suits your lifestyle. When I first started decluttering, I had a closet full of fancy cocktail dresses, and I never went out to fancy parties, but that's what I thought my life should be like. And letting go of those clothes was actually letting go of this certain image that I had of what my life should be like. And it was actually quite liberating and quite empowering to see that go. And I think it's the same way. If you have skinny clothes in your closet, there's always that pressure and that bit of disappointment when you look at that or try it on, like, oh, I just can't fit in that yet. So I say reward yourself with new clothes after you drop those pounds. It's such a great incentive to get out there and work out.
Jay says that decluttering will give your life a boost, and you'll find that you suddenly have more time for those projects that are really important.
When we have so many things, whether they're physical objects or too many commitments vying for our attention, we tend to get distracted, and we're almost drowning in minutia, and we can't focus on what really matters to us, what really sets our souls on fire, pursuing our passions or being with our families. When we have so many things taking away our attention, we really lose focus on what matters most to us. When we declutter, we tend to restore that balance. We put those things aside, we clear out some space so that we then have the clarity and we then have the focus to really explore what makes us tick, what makes us happy, and we have the time and energy to actually pursue those things.
So how do you begin? Marsden says that starting is the tough part, and you have to be resolved that you're not going to let your feelings for your stuff get in the way.
You have to go through your stuff one item by one item and be brutally honest with yourself. Do I really need these pants from 5 seasons ago? Am I really going to lose that 10 pounds to get back into these pants? You have to be brutally honest with yourself and say, you know what, it's not going to happen. It's time to let go, and by the time I do lose the weight, I'm probably going to want new pants anyway. So You have to be honest and allow yourself to not get sentimentally attached to it and let it go. If you have a lot of stuff, it's going to take, maybe a couple weeks even. Just do a little bit at a time. Once you start getting stressed or frustrated, stop. Go do something else, and then come back to it when you're ready.
Some people like to dive in and clean the whole house, basement, and garage in one long project. And that's fine. Jay says, though, that if this is your first foray into decluttering, maybe that's not the best way to start.
I think that when you're just starting decluttering, sometimes it makes a lot of sense to start small and really build up those decluttering skills, because it really does get easier as you go along. And the first piece of advice I give to everyone who starts decluttering is to pick that space that you'd like to work on, whether it's a drawer or a closet, file cabinet or a room, and completely empty the contents. That is such a key concept, because once you empty everything out, you actually have to choose to put those things back into your space. And I think it's a lot easier to declutter when you're choosing what to keep rather than what to toss.
Jay uses a glass half full approach to decluttering, focusing on the space rather than the stuff. She works on decluttering using her Streamline method, an acronym for start over, trash, treasure, or transfer, reason for each item, everything in its place, all surfaces clear, modules, limits, if one comes in, one goes out, narrow it down, and everyday maintenance. The one cluttering behavior that so many people engage in without even thinking is filling counters and tables with all sorts of stuff they bring in and just leaving it there.
If it's temporary, you're putting it down there for the 15 minutes after you come home, that's okay. And what I advocate doing each night is evaluating those surfaces and making sure they're clean. So say you brought in the shopping and you put it down on your dining table or your kitchen counters. Just make sure everything is put away. When you do what I call the evening sweep at night, is basically looking at the counters, making sure that there is nothing on them that shouldn't be there. And if you do that, clutter really doesn't have a chance to build up. There should be a place for everything so that when you do unpack those bags, there is somewhere for everything to go.
There are those keepsakes that we talked about at the beginning that are just so difficult to give up. Jay says that if they're that important, you should show them off. Marsden suggests that you pass them on.
A reason to keep something is that you find it useful. It makes your life easier. It saves you time. You find it beautiful. It brings you joy. Or it just has a very special meaning to you. And if it does have a special meaning to you, it should be displayed prominently in your home where you can see it and enjoy it. I think anything that's packed away in boxes in the attic or the basement or the garage, it's hard to make an argument that has special meaning to you.
I'm a big fan of don't keep it, but if you really are sentimentally attached to it, pass it on to somebody else in your family. And then you don't have to worry about it anymore, and you still have that satisfaction of, well, at least it's in the family.
There are many ways to keep from getting back into pack rat mode after you've spent time cleaning up. Jay says that one is to set limits on your space for each type of item.
And I think that's important because it is so easy to acquire things and to take on more commitments and to really fill our lives with a lot of unimportant, trivial things. But when we set limits, when we say, I'm only going to have the amount of books that can fit on this bookshelf, or I'm only going to have the amount of sweaters that fit into this box, then you're actually giving yourself a little break, actually. It takes the pressure off to keep acquiring, to keep doing. It really is like a little breath of relief in your life to know that you don't have to continually acquire and buy and purchase and get new things.
Cleaning up your own stuff is one thing, but what about the clutter that belongs to a spouse or kids? Marsden says that you need to have a talk with them to find out why they hold on to stuff that they really don't need.
You have to tell that person to be honest with why they're holding on to it in the first place, and sometimes they don't want to address those issues. Sometimes they don't want to tell you why they're holding on to something for so long, but you have to kind of force them to be honest with you and be honest with themselves. Pack rats a lot of times don't want to be honest with themselves. They think, well, I'm keeping this because I really am going to use it someday. But you have to kind of break past that thinking and force them to break past that thinking and really analyze, why are you holding on to this?
Jay says that one way to help family members pare down their stuff is to give everyone their own area to keep whatever they think they need.
It's very important because your family members might get very nervous when you say, let's declutter. They think, oh no, my stuff is going to go away. But what we're actually doing is declaring family space to be a clutter-free area and giving them space for their own stuff. So each member of the family has personal space for their stuff, whether that's a child's bedroom or a spouse's office or storage areas. They need to have a designated space where they can keep their stuff.
Finally, Jay says that you need an easy way to keep stuff moving out of your house. She suggests that you use the same method for your stuff as you do for your work.
I recommend setting up what I call an outbox. That's to counteract the inbox effect. And basically that is a cardboard box that you put in a very convenient location, such as the hall closet, and let everybody know anything that you're not using, that you don't want anymore, just put it in the box. Oftentimes we come across things that we don't necessarily use or want, and we don't know what to do with them. What should I do? Stick it in the corner? It's just easier to shove it back in the drawer or closet and deal with it later. But if there's a specific spot, an outbox for everybody's stuff to leave the house, it's much easier. It kind of makes decluttering the path of least resistance for your family.
Both Jay and Marsden say that parents who learn to declutter and maintain it in their home set a good example for their kids, and it's more likely that the children will learn that less stuff and more space makes for a more comfortable home and a clearer mind. You can learn all about the art and science of decluttering your space in Francine Jay's book, The Joy of Less, available in stores and online. You can also visit her on her website at missminimalist.com. To find out more about Dr. A.J. Marsden and her work, log on to beaconcollege.edu. To learn more about all of our guests, log on to our site at viewpointsonline.net. You can find archives of past programs there and on iTunes and Stitcher. Our show is written and produced by Pat Reuter. Our production directors are Sean Waldron and Reed Pence. I'm Marty Peterson.
Prime painting season runs from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And as you get ready to refresh your home, remember the importance of prepping your walls for painting. Here are some tips to make the most of your painting prep. First, move all furniture away from the walls or toward the center of the room and cover with a tarp. Then make sure your walls are clean and sanded down. Wipe the walls with a damp towel or sponge and allow them to dry before painting. Use a floor duster to wipe walls clean of dust. That way you'll ensure paint applies evenly. Mask the trim using new Scotch Blue Platinum painter's tape, which tears by hand at a straight 90-degree angle for fast cornering. Scotch Blue Platinum painter's tape is made from advanced poly material that helps prevent seepage and removes in one piece without tearing or slivering. Taking time to prep the walls before the brush hits the paint will ensure that you pull off a better paint job. Find out more at scotchblue.com.
When it comes to health insurance, understanding what you'll pay for covered services, prescriptions, and supplies is important, especially if you have a chronic condition like diabetes. Now, there's a new tool to help people with diabetes save money on test strips. Know My Copay is a website and nationwide telephone service that tells you the lowest copays for the top 5 brands of diabetes test strips in the market based on your individual health plan. Here's consumer advocate and nationally syndicated columnist Jim Miller.
Figuring out health coverage can be confusing. Know My Copay is a valuable free service that can help people maximize their healthcare dollar. By comparing the out-of-pocket cost of the various diabetes test strips available, people can make educated decisions about the products they use.
Know My Copay is sponsored by LifeScan, maker of One Touch brand blood glucose monitoring systems. Find the lowest copay for your test strips at knowmycopay.com or by calling toll-free 1-844-807-8936. That's knowmycopay.com.